Hi everyone, it's the 25th of October 2024 and this is the 1907 Grand Duke Dmitri diary entry. I have 5 more evenings to go as a dilettante in the catering business, and then I'll have more time, which will be nice. And meanwhile, I am full of gratitude for the fact that my friend, and even more than a friend, a surrogate father, Philip Goodman, has recovered from a very serious, life-threatening illness. He was in the hospital for quite a while. And Philip, if you're watching this, I'm so glad, and I wish you a speedy recovery. So Philip was always a great source of encouragement to me when I was in my university days in London, and really gave me so much encouragement in my pursuit of Russian history, and in particular Romanov history, and with Dmitri. And he is not the Romanov descendant in his family. That is his wife, my godmother, Sonia, who is on her mother's side through the Mecklenburg-Strelitzes, a Romanov descendant. But Philip is really an expert on the Romanovs, and I don't use that word lightly, and he has a very different perspective from most people who are experts on the Romanov, because he spent, since he was married, he spent most of his adult life in emigre circles in London, and talking to his parents-in-law about their life in Imperial Russia. So yeah, we can all give a sigh of relief that a person that's such a reservoir of information in this field is still with us, with much more to tell. All right, so today we're up to the 10th of October in Dmitri's world in Moscow in 1907. It's a Wednesday. And yeah, it's been a few days, so I should have done more of a review before I did this of the previous diary entries. So Vilgashka, Prince Wilhelm of Sweden, is there on a visit to his fiancée, Dmitri's sister Maria. And Dmitri is very deeply immersed in his school routine, homework, lessons. So spending every day until tea time, and really until dinner time, outside of what is going on in the rest of the family with Maria and Wilhelm and Ella, and just focused on his lessons, with a daily walk to the Neskuchny Palace to do, get out of the schoolroom and do some kind of physical activity. And things have really degenerated between the kids, Dmitri and Maria, and Tyotia, Aunt Ella. Maybe they were never that great, but it seemed like when, in the past, when the kids were staying with Ella at Ilinskaya, the country estate near Moscow, and when they were in the Crimea in Tsarskaya Selo, when they referred to Ella, that things weren't quite as strained as they are now. And I guess that makes sense, because now they're really trying to be a family in Moscow, and Dmitri has had a couple fights with Ella, as you know from past videos, and yeah, things have just kind of gone downhill, however they were before. So let's dive in. Today I got up at 6:30 and did homework until 8 o'clock, then had coffee with Tyotia and had lessons from 9 to 11. after which I went to Nieskuchny with Mr. Welter and rode to the slope. Lunch was at 1 o'clock, and then from 2 to 5 I had more lessons. Today we discussed if and how we would go to Ilinskaya on Sunday, and it seems to have been decided that we'll go Saturday evening, spend Sunday there, and come back Monday morning. Tomorrow we'll probably go to the theater, and I'll have a sword, which will be very comical and even embarrassing for me. From 5 o'clock until dinner time, I didn't do anything in particular. I played alone on my mandolin for a little while, then sat around, read, etc. Dinner was at 8 o'clock, after which we sat together until 10, talking a little, and at 1:30 we went to bed. Tyotia didn't dine with us today. She lay in bed, and when we went to say good night to her, she was under the covers, if you please, and the window was wide open, and the room was full of the stench and smoke from the street, and that's what they think is healthy, and of course a person would be sick after that. Today, after talking with Wilhelm, I saw that he really doesn't like Tyotia at all, and understands very well what we've been saying to him about her, and in some cases, he sees her exactly as Maria and I do. 10:30, okay, they have a new ally in this struggle with Aunt Ella. So we have the usual routine. The one thing that's different is that Mr. Welter has turned up, and he seems to be not necessarily a permanent member of staff, but he was with Dmitri a lot in Tsarskaya Selo, and Dmitri, unlike some of the other teachers, and sometimes with Laming, when there was strain, Dmitri always really liked Welter and spending time with him, and he was the one who was making sure there was physical activity every day. And so that's what he's doing on this day as well. Instead of Mr. Cook, Dmitri doesn't say why, but it is Welter today. All right, more lessons. Now this is interesting because he uses the pronoun we. We discussed if and how we would go to Ilinskaya on Sunday. So, this is usually Aunt Tyotia, Aunt Ella, who calls the shots and says when they will lift a finger and then when they will not. But we don't know who's included in the we here. It sounds like Aunt Ella is sick, and so maybe she wasn't involved. Maybe she just said, go to Ilinskaya if you like. So, yeah, who knows? It's a little surprising. We'll find out more about that. As you know from previous diary entries, Dmitri has been looking forward to this trip to the theater, that Aunt Ella has already given her tentative blessing to. It's a Wednesday, it will be Thursday. He'll be going to see an opera based on a Pushkin short story and called the Queen of Spades. And, you remember back in the Crimea when he was first given permission and indeed a command to wear his uniform from now on when he went out in public, his Horse Guards uniform, and he was looking forward to how fun that would be to do in Moscow. And now he's thinking about, I'll have a sword with me. But this is very typical, and it's an endearing thing about Dmitri that he's not puffed up about it. He's happy with the idea, but he also sees the funny side of it. And he's thinking it might even be a little embarrassing instead of an ego boost. So, that's our boy. He's a good chap at bottom. Okay, so he's not doing anything with the other members of the household until 8 o'clock, and Tyotia is not having dinner with them, so it would have been Vilgashka, Maria, and Dmitri, and any other member of the upper part of the household who, I don't know if ladies in waiting or anything else, but Yeah, it was without aunt. That was the important thing. She's sick in bed, and when they go to say goodnight to her, Dmitri finds this situation that he's just having a fit about. Here she is, she's tucked in, she's under the covers, but the room is wide open, and apparently her bedroom was on the side of the palace that was the street side, and the room is wide open. And this again is very typical of our friend Dmitri, that he is clucking over how things are being done wrongly. And you'll even see later on how he weighs in on the way Alexei is being taken care of in relation to his hemophilia. Dmitri even thinks that he knows better in that respect. So he's always sort of keeping an eye on things. And yeah, I mean, on the one side, he thinks he knows the right way to do things, but on the other side, yeah, it has an endearing side to it, I guess. It has a comical side to it. He's kind of at 16. He has this side that's very childlike, but he also is sort of always as an adolescent, playing the self-imposed role of the little adult and the one who needs to keep vigilant over everything to make sure that things are done right. So I never really thought about that as I was translating his adult diary. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. And now we come to the last part where he tells us that he and Maria have basically been trash talking Aunt Ella, and that Wilhelm sees what they're saying. You know, he looks at her and sees how she runs the household, apparently, and how she interacts with them, and says, okay, yeah, I understand how you feel about this, and we are simpatico on that. I agree with you. So interesting. If any of you are experts on Ella, I would love to hear what your thoughts are about this, or even if you're not experts, but like me, you know some things about her and you had some assumptions about her. And you know, my assumptions about her basically came from, before I had this, basically came from Maria's memoirs, The Life of a Princess, or what is it? The Education of a Princess. And they are pretty negative about Ella, but you always take, you always take people's memoirs a bit with, a grain of salt. But anyway, I'd love to hear from any of you. The next diary entry will be about Dimitri's first day in Copenhagen in February 1921, and what he does about his wardrobe crisis, if you recall, and his tea with the Dowager Empress and the very various people that he's spending time with on that first day. So I hope to see you for that. And yeah, take care. Bye.